Today onwards, we will start to learn about networking, how networking happens in Java. Now, before we go into advanced concepts of networking, let us go through the basic idea about what do you mean by networking. You might already know that networking is nothing but communication between two programs. You will have a sender, you will have a receiver, you will make a connection between them, and then you will start to send data and receive the data between the sender and the receiver. That is actually what is meant by networking. You can either do it between two machines at completely different places, or between two networks which are again geographically distributed, or you can do it between two programs, program A and program B, which are in your own computer. So these are the various ways in which we can do networking. Now, Java has a capability to do networking, and that is enabled with a package called java.net. Just like we have our java.io, java.lang, we even have java.net package to enable networking in Java. Let us see a small example about a concept called address. Now, you can see an envelope over there. This is how small kids, they write letters to Santa Claus during Christmas time for gift. You simply write Santa Claus, North Pole, that's enough. Children assume that it would reach Santa Claus in the North Pole because there is only one and only one Santa Claus. But when you write normal letters, or when you do a networking, a general address like this will not work. Excuse me. You will have to go for details, like imagine your postal address. That is supposed to be a perfect address. You will have your district, like Ernakulam. You will have your place, like, let's say, Kalamasheri. You will have your street, like Karipai Road. You will have your house number. Rajagiri College of Social Sciences, a house number 10 bar 43 or whatever. So that is how an exact postal address work. You will have to correctly tell what is the address of a particular location in a district, in a place, in a street, a particular house number, a particular person. Now, in java.net, there are lots of classes available. You have something called datagram, packet, and socket. Then you have inet address and multicast socket. Then you have another pair called server socket and socket. You even have URL and URL connections. We will be learning all of these, okay? First, we will learn about server socket and socket. Then we will learn about URL. Then we will learn about datagrams. And the last, we will learn about inet address. So these are the various classes which can be supported through your java.net package. We will be focusing upon server socket and socket first, and then we will go one by one to the remaining. You need not take down all these because I just want to give you an orientation that these are the various things available. We will be learning about each of them in detail. Okay. I'll just quickly revise through your protocols, which you've already, which you are currently learning in your networking paper. In case you have not gone through that, I'll just quickly orient you. There are mainly two types of protocols. We call them the TCP and the UDP. TCP is called Transmission Control Protocol. You even say it is a connection-oriented protocol. TCP is a connection-oriented protocol. UDP is User Datagram Protocol. It is a connection-less protocol. Now, the main difference in networking between TCP and UDP is, okay, before we go into the difference, let's see what's happening common in between them. Both of them, they will help you to send and receive your data. Be it your TCP or be it your UDP, you send data, you will receive data. You will create connections and then you will go on sending your data. The main difference between TCP and UDP with respect to sending data is TCP is much more reliable, the data sending. Why? Because it guarantees the order of packets. Let's say I've got 2 packets, or I've got 3 packets, packet 1, packet 2, and packet 3. Okay, this is my packet 1, this is my packet 2, and this is my packet 3. Okay, this is how my data is split. My data is split into packets. First, I have the first packet, then I have the second packet, and then I have the third packet. In TCP, if I follow the TCP protocol and I'm sending data, what happens is the data, it is assured that it will reach in the correct order. First, packet 1 will reach, then packet 2 will reach. At the end, I will have packet 3. It reaches in the correct order. UDP also, I will create a connection. I can transmit packets. All my 3 packets will reach over here, but I am not very sure in which order they will reach. So UDP, it does not give you a guarantee on the order of the packets. All the packets will reach for sure, but the order in which the packets reach, you cannot be very sure. That is why your internet, the internet, it follows the TCP rather than the UDP. That is why UDP, they use datagram packets for their transmission. Now let's see about something called communication. Now, communication always happens between a client and a server. The client is also called as the source program, and the server is called the destination program. Like, you know, it happens like this. You have a client over here, you will have a server over here. Client needs to send data to the server. Okay, client will need to send data to the server. A client server simply cannot send data. So first thing, what the client has to do is, the client should ask the server, can I send data? Can you please have a connection with me? So that is the first thing what the client does. Client should ask the server whether the server is ready to take up connection with the client. Okay, so the client will give a request. Now let's see what happens at the server side. Now, servers, they are always in a listening mode. Okay, servers, they are always in a listening mode, which means they are ready to take up connections from any client. Okay, now I have this client who's asking whether a connection can be made, and I have a server who is ready to take up connections. So what happens? Look here, this client, he is requesting for a connection. This server guy, he is ready because he is in a listening mode. He is ready to take up connection. So he tells, okay, fine, let's have a connection. So the client and server, they make a connection. Or I say, I have a source program over here. I have a destination program over here. Client send a request for connection. Server, who is always in a listening mode, he listens to the request from the client, he accepts the connection, and then now I do have a stable connection between my client and server. Now, all what we have done till now is we have made a connection. Client sent a request, server, because he was in the listening mode, he was ready to accept, he accepted, and now we have made a connection. Once the connection is made, you can send and receive data. Okay, now I have a client and server between which I have a connection established. Now, what will the client do? The client will start sending data. Let's say I send my packets 1, 2, 3. Client is sending 1, 2, 3. The server will receive my 1, 2, 3 if it is a TCP. If it is a UDP, I might go in the order, let's say 2, 3, 1. Whatever be it, server will receive what the client is sending. Let's see that with the help of an example between Alice and Bob. Okay, Joseph Renoy, tell me who's Alice and Bob? Okay, Alice and Bob, they are considered to be the most famous cryptographic couple or networking couple, because in all your networking examples, always the connections, they happen between Alice and Bob. Okay, why it is Alice and Bob? It's very simple. A and B. A is trying to send data to B. Okay, so rather than simply having it as A and B, you might have heard about the RSA algorithm. Have you heard about something called the RSA Joshny? Okay. Okay. RSA, there is an algorithm called the RSA algorithm, which you might be learning in your networking. It is a cryptographic algorithm. It was developed by 3 people, Rivest, Sharma, and Edelman. Okay, so they long back, they came up with the algorithm. And if I'm not wrong, in 70s, in 1975 or 78, okay, they came up with a paper. And in that particular paper, they were talking about an example. Imagine data is sent from A to B. Okay, and together with that, they even wrote, let us assume data is sent from Alice and Bob. Okay, so that was the first time when A and B, they started to be recognized as Alice and Bob. Alice and Bob is nothing but A and B. So rather than simply having it as alphabets or abstract characters, they went for human characters, imaginary characters like Alice and Bob, simply because Alice, it starts with A and starts with B. Starting from then onwards, from that paper onwards till now, you talk about any cryptographic example, it is always Alice and Bob. You never say data to be sent from A to B. You always say data is to be sent from Alice and Bob. Okay, so that's why they are considered to be the most famous cryptographic couple. You not only have Alice and Bob, together with those characters like Alice and Bob, Rivest, Sharma, and Edelman, they came up with more characters. Okay, like first was A and B. You send data from A and B to Alice and Bob. Like in the next network, you have neighbors called C and D. So they came up with another imaginary couple, Carol. C is for Carol, C-A-R-O-L, Carol, and D is for Dave. Okay, another cryptographic couple who stay next door to Alice and Bob. The next network, You have Carol and Dave. And then you even have T. T is the trustworthy person. Okay, trustworthy network and all that. You call it T. T, Trudy. T, they gave a name called Trudy, and even Trent. Some people in their books, they call it Trudy. Some people, they write Trent. Then you even have the malicious. Okay, malicious is somebody who is injecting dirty things into your network. Malicious. Okay, for that malicious person, they gave a name called Mallory. They gave a name called Mallory. And even in some papers, you find a rude person, the cracker, rude. Okay, he is called Rudy. You call Rudy. Then you even have a person called E. E is the person who always tries to listen to your network, who does eavesdropping. Joseph Renoy, hope you're understanding the word called eavesdropping. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
listening over to a network. And then they gave that person the imaginary name called Eve, a lady called Eve. Her job is nothing but to do eavesdropping. Okay, so all these are characters in networking. You have Alice, you have Bob, you have Carol, you've got Dave, you have got Trudy and Trent, you have got Mallory, you have got Rudy, you have got Eve. So anyway, we are just doing a communication between Alice and Bob, A and B. So we'll just talk about Alice and Bob, forget about all the other characters. You will learn them when you do your networking. Okay, now let's imagine Alice wants to talk to Bob over the telephone. Okay, Alice is communicating to Bob, and let's see the normal things which happen through a telephone network. Okay, imagine your normal dialing phones or your mobile phones which you have. Alice should have a phone. Bob should have a phone. Both of them should have phone. Now, having a phone alone will not help you to do a connection. Alice should have an individual phone number. Bob should also have an individual phone number, because Alice should be dialing Bob's phone number, then only they can make a connection. Now imagine your conventional land phones. Okay, Bob and Alice, their phones will always be ready, because any random time you pick up the phones, you will have something called the ringer or the caller tone. Only if that is there, you can make a connection. Okay, so whenever Bob picks up his phone, he says you can tell that it has a ringtone, which means he is in the listening mode. He is ready to take up any connection. Now, what will Alice do? Alice, she will take a phone up. She will dial Bob's number. She will dial Bob's number. Bob's phone, it will ring at Bob's place. Bob will take up the receiver. Okay, now the connection is made. Now, once the connection is made, Alice tells blah, blah, blah. Bob receives blah, blah, blah. And again, Bob tells something. Alice hears that thing. Now, that is how, in a normal situation, you make a connection between A and B, between Alice and Bob. Let's see a few things. Let's see a few technical things between the connection between A and B, between Alice and Bob, the server and the client. Okay. I earlier told you need telephones. Okay. I call this by a technical name called endpoint. Okay. Both the client and the server, they should have endpoints at both the ends, because that is how the connections are going to be facilitated. Now, having the endpoints alone will not do. I should have something called an address, or the IP address, or I can say a port address. Okay. Now, having a telephone alone will not do. I should even have something called a phone number, so that Alice can be differentiated from Bob, Carol, Dave, Trent, Trudy, Rudy, Mallory, Eve, everybody. So Alice should have her own phone number. Bob should have his own phone number. That is what you mean by address, something which gives you individuality. Okay. Now, one endpoint, it will initiate a connection with the other. Here, Alice, she is going to initiate a connection with Bob. Poor thing Bob, he's always in the listening mode. He is waiting for Alice to call him. Once he gets a call from Alice, the connection is made. Once the connection is made, you will be exchanging data. They will be talking with each other. They will send data. They will receive data. And once all that has been done, you will be closing the connection. Very simple. You will be putting your phones back in the position. So these are the technical things which happen when you think about a phone connection.